Hey Dark Shadow, we haven't made an update to this landfill of a website in less than a day, and we haven't had any ideas. What do you think we should do this time around rather than turn the layout color of the site blue or some dumb shit like that? I think we should add posts and stories. Why stories though? I know you're like Hollywood on wanting to rip off everything, but really? Instagram? Now you're really scraping the bottom of this dog poo filled barrel. Also, why did it take us over a decade to think of posts? YouTube has a ton of problems, one of which being the updates that randomly appear and are immediately made default with little to no testing whatsoever, which is why I'm super scared that dislikes could be removed off YouTube. But that's not the subject matter of this video. The topic we'll be discussing today is YouTube's post and story features, which, while not being terrible, are a missed opportunity. YouTube could have done a much better job to flesh out these systems, and this video solely exists so YouTube can fix the minor problems I have with post and stories, if they even know I exist. Anyways, this video will start with what each of them does, then my critiques, and finally a summary of how I feel about them, and how I think we should fix them. So without further ado, let's get started. Posts are a feature of YouTube that I actually like. The function of a post is to say something to your viewers that you can't express in a video because it's too short. My favorite example of a YouTuber who uses this feature perfectly is SaberSpark. SaberSpark is one of my favorite YouTubers for his consistency and uploads videos where he talks about weird or bad media, usually being animated movies, with an occasional video on a cartoon, once a week usually on Fridays. This guy posts perfectly by announcing what his next video will be about and notifying his audience whenever he finds a new video to make or when he delays a video. This is exactly how posts are typically used and how they should be used. Sure, people use posts for other reasons, but I'll be talking about that in the critique section. Posts don't have as much interactivity as videos, but likes and comments are all you really need when it comes to posts. You can also add images and GIFs to your posts, as well as making things far easier when showing off art you created, since you don't have to make a video about it. The final thing you can do with posts is create polls to see what kind of content your audience wants to see. As for stories, they're basically just posts but in short video form with little to no interactivity, and the only reason they were created in the first place was to rip off Instagram, and what I can only say was done in the most shameless way possible. Posts have 4 flaws that prevent them from being perfect. The first of which being especially fatal towards channels of my size, because you can only post if you have more than 1,000 to 10,000 subscribers. Which I hate because I want to tell my audience what they'll be watching next, and do an occasional poll where I see what my audience enjoys, and I can make a combination of content I know what my current audience will watch, and a content that I specifically want to make. This part of posts also makes it so I can't go as in-depth with a function of posts, making for a video that is filled with not as much information as I want it to have. This is also a problem of stories too, from what I know of. But if I'm wrong that fact, then please tell me in the comment section. The next flaw with posts that I see is spam. The main focus of YouTube is the videos. So when someone posts multiple times a day, it gets very frustrating and annoying, especially when they keep showing up on your homepage. This problem is made even more grating when it comes from a YouTuber you don't give a shit about, but is ending up in your recommended section anyways because of how often they post. As for stories, it's not as big of a problem with them, since people just don't seem to use them as often. Then again, out of the 70 channels I watch, only 3 of them consistently use this feature to begin with. The third problem I have with posts kind of intertwines with the second, but I think it's one that really needs to be addressed, and that was the main reason I made this video to begin with. Posts should be exclusive to the subscription feed, but for some reason they're not. This is the main reason why flaw number 2 gets on my nerves so much. It's because the spam only gets annoying on the homepage. Seriously though, why in the actual hell did YouTube decide not to make this part of the update, day 1? I don't want to get too worked up though, so I'm just gonna say that stories don't have this problem. But along with that, I'll be going to the final flaw of posts, which is more like a nitpick. But why can't you reply to people's comments on a post? I don't get it. You can do it to videos, so why not posts? Okay, that's it. How about we go on to my overall thoughts? But retro. What about stories? Oh, okay, you want me to critique that? That should be easy. Okay, so stories share similar flaws to posts, but unlike posts, YouTube decided to shove stories so far up our throats to a point where it gets frustrating. But that's forgivable, since YouTube does this all the time, to a point where I'm just kind of desensitized to it. But the main critique I have of this feature is the stories recommendation section in the homepage. And I hate it so much because it recommends stories from channels you basically never heard of, or make content so different from what you currently watch to a point where you're baffled as to why they're there in the first place. For example, I got stories recommendations from YouTubers, from only one YouTuber that I have watched, being PewDiePie. I've never even heard of every other channel on this list. So you may be wondering, Retro, why does this piss you off so much? Well, it's because stories should be seen as small updates, so shoving stories from random YouTubers you don't know straight up your already tortured ass is insultingly terrible for the second to third biggest website of all time. But now that I've gotten my anger out, we can now go on to the part of the video that better resembles the title. Overall, I think posts are good but not great, and while I have shown some distaste and bias towards stories, I will at least acknowledge that they're not terrible. So I feel like, to really sum up how I feel about these features in a completely concrete way, I should address what mediocre means, since the definition of the term is quite ambiguous to many people. On Google, the definition for mediocre is something of only moderate quality, not very good, which in my opinion roughly translates to a 4 or 5 out of 10, to the 3 or below that classify something as straight up bad. And I feel that 4 or 5 out of 10 is a perfect way of describing how I feel about these two features that YouTube added to their site. But I will say that these features have potential, and that if YouTube updates them enough, they could actually become something great. Which is why I want this video to become outdated, so we can learn as a community that YouTube will actually listen to our feedback. But that'll never happen, and we'll continue to tolerate it anyways. So what's your opinion on posts and stories? Do you love them, or do you hate them? Or are you like me and just find them average? Well, whatever your thoughts are, I want you to type them up in the comment section so you can give me your opinion on the video's overall quality and your thoughts on the topic. I heavily encourage criticism since I want to be the better channel overall, and your feedback will help me with anything I missed in the video. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and goodbye. So this video was going to be released after my UA Trader video, but plans were changed since I ended up making my Sunatori video instead. But I still want to make this video, so instead of canning it like I would have done with my other topics, I decided to simply postpone it instead. And I postponed it for a month. There's honestly no excuse for this. It's entirely my own laziness. But I will say that big stuff happened in my life, and my birthday happened right after it. Yeah, my upload schedule is a problem, but I'm getting myself back on track, and videos should hopefully resume normally from now on. By taking the spotlight outside of myself, a good friend of mine made a channel called Pokemon Gaming, which is a gaming channel surrounded mostly around Minecraft content. Our content's very different in style, but if you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed your day, and goodbye, my fellow peasants.